Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. She looked me dead in the face, standing there in front of a pile of Nordstrom and Saks bags, and said, "You're financially abusive." Like she was telling me the sky was blue. No hesitation. No shame. I was standing in our kitchen with the utility bill in my hand. Electric was up again, and I'd asked her, "Hey, can we slow down on the shopping a bit this month?" That was it. One question. Not yelling. Not blaming. Just asking. She didn't even flinch. She was peeling the sticker off a new pair of boots, real calm, sipping some overpriced organic juice she probably found on Instagram. "This is textbook control," she said. "You're trying to monitor my spending like I'm a child. That's financial abuse, Tyler." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Quick note. Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? I just stared at her, stunned. The same woman who used to split rent with me without blinking, who used to compare prices at Aldi like it was a sport, who once bragged about getting a $12 dress at a thrift shop for our date night. That version of her was gone, replaced by someone who thought asking about electric bills was an attack. I tried to laugh it off. Financial abuse. Come on. I just asked if we could take it easy this month. She shot me a look like I'd called her a slur. "You don't get to decide what I spend. That's not your role. You're being manipulative. You're not even paying the bills anymore," I said, voice rising. That hit nothing. She turned her back and kept organizing the tags on the counter like we weren't even having a conversation. I walked out of the kitchen, heart racing. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just went straight to the bedroom and shut the door. I sat on the edge of the bed and felt like someone had knocked the air out of me. This wasn't just a bad moment. This wasn't stress talking. This wasn't heat of the moment drama. This was a pattern. She'd used that same phrase, financial abuse, twice before in the past year. Always when I'd bring up money. Always when she didn't like what she was hearing. And now, standing there with designer bags stacked up like trophies, she'd said it again. Calm. Prepared. Like it wasn't even personal, just a script. That was the moment I stopped thinking we were having a rough patch. She wasn't arguing. She was building a case. And I realized I was already on trial. I didn't say anything to her that night. I needed to cool off, and honestly, I still wanted to believe it was just a rough phase. But once I started thinking about it, really thinking about it, the whole thing had been building for a while. It started small, right after the wedding. She picked out a nicer couch than we planned. I shrugged and said, "Okay, if you love it." Then she upgraded our cookware set. Again, fine. I was happy to treat her. That's what husbands do, right? But that wasn't where it stopped. Couple months in, it turned into weekly packages at the door. Sephora boxes. Expensive athleisure she wore once. Then spa appointments started popping up on our joint credit card. Haircuts at salons with champagne menus. Fancy dinners with girlfriends where the bill always hit me after the fact. At first, I didn't mind. She was still working full-time at the hospital and swore she had it under control. I figured, okay, she's just enjoying herself. Maybe it's temporary. Then I noticed she stopped paying her half of anything. Rent? "Can you just cover it this month, babe?" I had to front a group trip for Rachel's birthday. Utilities? "I thought you already paid those." Groceries? "I Venmo'd you last week, didn't I?" She hadn't. And when I asked about it, even politely, she'd look at me like I just slapped her. One night, I brought up the credit card again. Just said, "Hey, we're a little over budget. Can we cut back a bit?" She threw her phone on the couch and said, "Why are you obsessed with what I spend? This is turning toxic, Tyler." Toxic. That was her favorite word lately. Everything was toxic. Questioning a $300 bag? Toxic. Mentioning the car payment? Controlling. Suggesting we cancel the third weekend trip in a row? Emotional abuse. She started making herself the victim in every money talk. Meanwhile, she'd come home with fresh nails, new shoes, and plans for a girl's trip to Charleston. But what really blew my mind, what really made it obvious something wasn't adding up, was her social media. She posted everything. Self-care Sundays at some expensive spa. Shopping bags with treat yourself captions. Steak dinners and rooftop bars. A new pair of heels with the hashtag wifey life. It was all there, proud, flashy, braggy. Like she was living the life of some influencer. And yet, when it was just us, she'd twist her face into this wounded look and say stuff like, "You make me feel like I have to ask permission to live. That's not a partnership." She wanted both stories to be true at once. Online, she was a spoiled queen. At home, she was a prisoner of my so-called control. I started noticing patterns. She'd act cold and passive-aggressive the day after I asked about a charge, like I was punishing her by tracking the bills. Then she'd go post a selfie in front of a boutique, like she hadn't just accused me of financial manipulation. It was getting harder to ignore. One afternoon, I walked past her laptop while she was in the shower. It was open to a luxury handbag site, with 3 tabs of buy now, pay later options. I glanced over to the coffee table, another unopened box from some fashion brand. Not even unwrapped. We were thousands deep into debt I didn't ask for, and she was already planning the next purchase. That's when I started keeping a mental tally. Not of the money, we were already in the red, but of how often she flipped things back on me. If I said, "Can we talk about our budget?" she'd say, "I can't believe I married someone who thinks money equals love." She knew the words, knew how to spin it. And honestly, it scared the hell out of me how easy it came to her. Every conversation about finances turned into a character assassination. I was cold, controlling, emotionally unavailable, abusive. But scroll through her phone, and you'd see nothing but grinning selfies in luxury lobbies and captions like, "He spoils me rotten." And I started wondering, who's she really talking to? Me? Or the people she's prepping for later? 2 days later, she came home like she was floating. Hair done, lashes fresh, holding 3 shopping bags like trophies. I was in the living room going through bank alerts on my phone, and I already knew what she'd done. $2,000? I asked, not yelling, not even angry, just flat. She dropped the bags on the kitchen island and laughed. "You make that in a week. Calm down." She said it like I was being dramatic for noticing, like I was crazy for keeping track of what was coming out of my own account. What was even in there that cost $2,000? She pulled out a coat, some camel-colored designer thing I've never seen her wear since, and spun around like she was on a damn runway. "You don't know style, babe. This is timeless." "You think timeless means no price tag?" That's when her smile dropped. She turned toward me and said, "Wow, you're seriously obsessed. You act like I'm robbing you." I pulled my phone out of my pocket, hit record, and said, "Say that again." She froze. "Are you recording me right now?" "Yeah. From now on, I'm documenting all of this." Her face twisted like I'd just slapped her. "That's abuse. You can't just record people in their own home." "Actually, in this state, I can," I said. "And I will. I'm done getting steamrolled and then being told I imagined it." She stood there, breathing heavy, hands clenched. "This is insane. You're insane." I didn't argue. I just walked past her, went straight to the office, and shut the door. I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and started pulling records. I hadn't really gone through it in one sitting before. I always checked things piecemeal. One card, one charge, one argument. But that night, I sat there and went back 6 months. It was worse than I thought. Multiple $1,000 trips to luxury stores. Online orders that never even showed up in the house. God knows where they went. 5-star restaurants tagged in her photos that I never even ate at. I pulled bank statements, printed them, added screenshots from Instagram, just in case she cleaned up later. Then I made the mistake of checking her text messages on our family iPad, which was still synced with her iCloud. That's when it really clicked. There were messages to her friend Mia that said, "Tyler's so easy to guilt. It's actually hilarious." Another one, "He thinks I'm fragile. Let him. He'll never say no if I act hurt enough." And one that made my blood run cold. If I ever wanted to leave, I could destroy him with the stuff he says about money. Men don't realize how easy it is to twist that shit. I scrolled through more. Group chats with her friends. Jokes about training your man. Pictures of gifts she bought herself with captions like, "He doesn't know what hit him, LOL." It wasn't just spinning anymore. She was deliberately spinning a story behind my back, telling her circle one thing, me another. And the way she used phrases like control, abuse, and emotional withholding, like they were tools, it felt rehearsed. I sat there staring at the iPad, heart pounding. Not out of fear, out of clarity. She wasn't confused. She wasn't emotional. She was calculated. This wasn't a fight between a husband and wife about money. This was someone running a play. Build a case. Spend big. Cry victim. Make the guy look like the villain while draining his wallet dry. And I realized I wasn't just living in the middle of this. I was the target. I looked around the office, at the printer still running, at the stack of paper piling up, at her phone buzzing in the kitchen. And I knew something had just shifted. A line had been crossed. Not by accident. By design. The next morning, I woke up early and sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, stack of receipts beside me. She came downstairs all smiles like nothing had happened. Hoodie, messy bun, coffee in hand. The same woman who blew $2,000 and called me insane less than 12 hours ago. I didn't say good morning. I just looked up and said, "We need to talk." She paused for half a second, just a flicker, then kept walking like she hadn't heard me. "I have a call in 20, can it wait?" "No," I said. "Sit down." She let out a sigh like I was being dramatic, set her mug down, and flopped into the chair across from me. "What is it now?" I slid the first few pages across the table. "Bank statements. Charges on the joint card. Most of them yours." She didn't even look down. "Are you tracking my purchases now?" "Wow, that's obsessive." "Don't do that," I said. "Calm. Controlled. You spent over $7,000 this month. That's not normal." She scoffed. "You're exaggerating." I flipped to the last page. Page 4. Do the math. She finally glanced at it, eyes flicking across the page. Then she leaned back and crossed her arms. "You don't get to control what I spend. My therapist said this is part of your pattern." There it was. The therapist card. "You told your therapist I'm controlling?" She asked how finances are handled. I told her you freak out if I spend more than what you personally approve. "I didn't approve or disapprove anything," I said. "I just asked what happened to partnership." She rolled her eyes. "This is exactly what I mean. You're making me feel unsafe again." I leaned in. "I'm done being quiet. I've got screenshots, texts, voice recordings, and I'm keeping everything from now on. You want to play this game, fine. But I'm not walking into it blind." She opened her mouth, then stopped. I caught it. The twitch in her jaw, the way her hands tightened on the edge of the table. It was quick, but it was there. She was rattled. That was the first time I saw it. A real crack in the mask. From that day on, I turned into a machine. Every time she made a comment, I wrote it down. Every online order, I saved the receipt. I screen recorded her Instagram stories before she could delete them. I backed up her texts off the iPad before she noticed the sync. She started getting more careful, more calculated. Less shopping on the joint card, more on new accounts under her name. But the behavior didn't stop, it just got sneakier. She even started using therapy language like it was scripted off a website. Coercive control, financial trauma, economic isolation. The words didn't even sound like her. They sounded Googled. Prepped. One night, she said, "I told my therapist you have textbook patterns of financial dominance." I nearly laughed. "You gonna tell her about the $1,400 handbag you bought while saying I don't let you buy groceries?" She blinked. "Just once. That's different. That was a gift to myself. For my mental health." "You told her you're dependent on me financially," I said. "But you're still working full-time. Where's your money going?" She didn't answer. Just walked out of the room like the conversation was beneath her. But I didn't stop. Every red flag, every lie, every mental health excuse to cover up another $1,000 weekend, I documented it. I wasn't just protecting my bank account anymore. I was protecting my name. Because it was clear now, this wasn't just about money. She was laying the groundwork for something bigger, something legal, something ugly. And I was done letting her write the story without me fighting back. It happened by accident. She left her laptop open in the kitchen while she took a call outside. I wasn't even snooping. I went to grab a cup of coffee, glanced at the screen, and saw a message pop up. "Claire, you need to keep documenting everything. The judge has to see a pattern." Claire was her sister. Lives in Denver. We'd never been close, but I didn't think she was that kind of person. I scrolled up. The whole thread was sitting there like an open wound. He's tracking what I spend now. I think it's good. Makes me look more dependent." "Claire, exactly. You need receipts that he's controlling. Don't fight him directly. Just collect and keep quiet." "I'm going to start funneling everything to one card. If I look broke, it helps my support claim." "Claire, good. Spousal support hinges on proving you have no access." "I've already told my therapist he controls the money. I'll build from there." My chest went cold. I scrolled further. The worst was this. "If I time it right, I can get max support and keep the car. He'll fold in court if he's embarrassed enough." She wasn't just being careless. She was planning it. Every word, every accusation, every therapy buzzword. It was strategy. Smear me, then cash out in court. Make herself look helpless. Paint me as the abuser and drain me on the way out. That's when the game changed for me. I stopped reacting and started preparing. I opened a new folder on my computer called Defense. I backed up everything again, twice. Messages, receipts, recordings, her Instagram stories, the credit card breakdown, even screenshots of those texts with her sister. I printed everything, labeled it, filed it. Then I went quiet. No more questions. No more budget talks. I gave her exactly what she wanted, space to dig her own hole. She kept pushing the narrative. Anytime I so much as mentioned bills, she muttered things like, "This is why women stay silent." One time I asked if she'd paid her half of the car insurance, and she said, "You're weaponizing money against me." I said nothing, but inside, I was stacking ammo. A week later, I waited until a Sunday afternoon, right after her self-care brunch, to confront her. She walked in wearing some overpriced jumpsuit, face glowing from a facial, holding another stupid matcha smoothie. I was sitting at the dining table with a thick binder open in front of me. Color-coded tabs. Dates. Notes. "What's this?" she asked, setting her drink down like nothing was off. "Evidence," I said. "Of everything." She narrowed her eyes, still trying to play it cool. "You're being paranoid again." I slid the printed messages from her and Claire across the table. "Explain this." She didn't move at first, just stared at the page like it was written in a language she didn't know. Her hand stayed on her hips, but I could see her breathing change. "I don't know what that is," she said. "You typed it. From your laptop. Don't insult me." She picked up the paper and scanned it fast. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Then came the reach. She tried to grab the whole stack, but I slammed my hand down on the binder. "Nope," I said. "This is mine now." "You went through my private messages?" she said, raising her voice like that was the betrayal. "You left them open. I didn't have to search. And honestly, I'm glad I saw it. Now I know exactly what you're doing." She started pacing, arms crossed tight. "This isn't what it looks like." "Oh, it's exactly what it looks like. You're pretending to be broke while living off my income. You're lying to your therapist. You're building a fake abuse case so you can screw me in court." "That's not true," she snapped. I opened the binder to the screenshots of her handbag purchases and held it up. "Then what's this? What part of this says helpless to a judge?" She looked around like someone was going to swoop in and save her. When no one did, she walked out of the room without saying another word. But the panic was there. For the first time, she didn't have the upper hand. And I knew right then, I was done being her target. I was going to be her wall. She walked in the front door like she owned the place. Hair curled, sunglasses still on, shopping bag hanging from her wrist like some kind of fashion statement. She looked straight past me, dropped her purse on the entry table, and set the bag on the counter like she was unboxing treasure. I stayed on the couch, quiet, just watching. She pulled out a box, black leather, gold trim, flipped it open like it was a movie reveal. Inside, a brand new Rolex. Slim, diamond accented, at least $4,000. "You serious right now?" I asked. She didn't even blink. "What? That watch? How much did that cost?" She rolled her eyes and peeled the plastic off the face. "Jesus, Tyler, are we doing this again? Answer the question." She snapped the box shut and crossed her arms. "This is textbook financial abuse. You're trying to make me feel guilty about a watch I bought with my own card." "Your own card," I repeated, standing up. "Paid off with my income. I work too," she snapped. "I contribute. You haven't paid a single shared bill in 6 months." Her voice got louder. "I don't owe you anything. You think because you make more, you get to control me?" My therapist said this is the exact kind of imbalance that leads to emotional damage. There it was again. The therapist. Her imaginary referee. I walked to the kitchen drawer, pulled out the binder I'd put there the night before, and dropped it on the counter beside her shopping bag. "You mean the therapist you lied to about being broke?" I said. "The one you used to build your little courtroom fairy tale?" She froze, eyes locked on the binder. "You still want to talk about damage?" I asked, flipping it open. "Because I've got the text you sent Claire about playing the victim, planning support, manipulating the timeline. I've got screenshots of everything you bought while pretending to be dependent. I've got voice recordings, social media posts, your own damn words." She didn't move, just stared down at the binder like it might explode. "You read those?" she asked quietly. "Every word," Claire said to collect evidence. You said I'd fold in court if you embarrassed me. She started to speak, but choked on it. Stumbled for a second, then leaned hard on the island. I didn't mean. You meant all of it. I cut in. You weren't confused. You weren't overwhelmed. You were executing a plan. She tried to pivot. Okay, maybe I said some stuff out of frustration, but you don't know what it's like being in this marriage. You've been cold, distant. You weaponize money and act like I should be grateful for being taken care of. I raised my hand to cut her off. Stop. Just stop. She went quiet. Her jaw clenched. She was waiting for me to back off again like I always had. But I was done. I pulled out my phone and opened the banking app. You're done spending my money. What's that supposed to mean? It means I closed the joint accounts, I said. Revoked your access. Changed every password. Froze every card with my name on it. If you want something, you can pay for it yourself. You're kidding me, she said, stepping toward me. Nope. This is abuse, she snapped. Financial isolation. It's in every psychology article on. I've got your abuse plan in writing, Rachel. She didn't say anything. She just stood there, breathing through her nose, fists clenched like she didn't know whether to scream or cry. You played the long game, I said. You built a script, got your therapist involved, tried to box me in legally. I wasn't going to go through with any of that, she shot back. I just needed leverage. You never listen to me unless there's pressure. I laughed. Couldn't help it. You were about to destroy my name for leverage? She went quiet again. And just like that, it was over. Whatever thread she'd been pulling this whole time, it snapped. Right there in the kitchen, standing beside her new Rolex, she finally realized the script wasn't working anymore. I walked out of the room, grabbed my keys, didn't slam the door. She wanted control. She wanted power. Now she could see what it looked like when she lost it. She realized it fast. By the next morning, her cards were getting declined. I was at work when she called, frantic. First time in weeks, she actually called instead of texting. Tyler, I can't access the accounts. What the hell did you do? You heard me, I said. I told you last night. This is done. You don't get to just pull the plug. I'm still your wife. Not for long. She went silent. I hung up. Later that week, I filed for divorce. Didn't announce it. Didn't ask her to talk. Just filed. 2 days after that, a process server showed up at our house while she was still in pajamas. I wasn't there for it, but I saw the Ring camera footage. She opened the door, squinted at the guy like he was selling something, then read the papers and froze. I watched her lips mouth the words, "He's divorcing me?" She looked around like the street would give her answers. Then she slammed the door shut. That night, she waited for me in the kitchen. You really served me at home? Would you have preferred your job? She stepped toward me. Softer tone this time. We can work this out. We just need counseling. You blindsided me. No, Rachel, I said. You blindsided yourself. You got so caught up scripting a takedown, you didn't stop to think what would happen if I pushed back. I didn't want it to get here, she said, tears welling. I just wanted things to feel fair. You wanted control. Now you've got independence. Figure it out. She didn't reply, just stood there, staring, like she expected me to cave. I didn't. A week later, I got the counterclaim. Her lawyer filed for spousal support for $1,000 a month. Claimed she was financially dependent, emotionally manipulated, and denied access to marital assets. I read it twice just to believe it. She even claimed that she stopped working full-time because of me, when in reality, she'd been bragging to her friends about cutting back her hours to focus on wellness. I had the texts to prove it. Still, my lawyer looked me straight in the face and said, "This is dangerous." Judges don't always look at receipts. They listen to emotion. And right now, her side of the story is built to win sympathy. I leaned back in the chair. Even with proof? She's claiming long-term financial dependency and psychological harm. You'll need to destroy her credibility. And even then, it's not a guaranteed win. I felt my jaw clench. So she can drain me, lie about everything, and still walk away with $4,000 a month because she's got a sad story? That's how family court works, he said. Unless we hit back hard. So we did. We started prepping everything. The financial trail, the social media, the synced iCloud texts, the receipts from luxury stores, her bragging to her friends, her fake therapy phrases, every move she made for the last year, we turned it into evidence. Meanwhile, she kept playing victim, posting cryptic quotes about narcissistic partners, telling her friends she was trapped in a silent kind of abuse, while quietly trying to freeze her own credit cards and shift money around behind the scenes. But the truth was obvious now. She had no money and no plan. She thought the support check would come automatically. She thought saying the word abuse would be enough. She didn't think she'd actually have to prove it. And I was ready to make damn sure she couldn't. The courthouse smelled like disinfectant and stale coffee. I sat in a stiff chair next to my lawyer, flipping through a final set of notes while Rachel sat 2 rows across, pretending she was some delicate survivor. Hair tied back, no makeup, wearing a gray sweater 2 sizes too big like she was auditioning for pity. Her lawyer stood up first. She painted me like a monster. Told the court I monitored every dollar, restricted her access to funds, and used financial intimidation as a tool of emotional control. Said Rachel had no real independence, and that I withheld resources to keep her powerless. I didn't move. I just stared straight ahead and waited for it to end. Then my lawyer stood. He didn't speak loudly, didn't throw around buzzwords, just walked the judge through the facts. Your Honor, we'll begin with Exhibit A, joint bank statements showing over $40,000 in discretionary spending over the last 12 months, all by Mrs. Walker. He clicked a remote and brought up charts, color-coded, labeled, receipts, dates, retailers. Here's a $3,000 handbag charged to their joint account. And here, he flipped a page, is a text from Mrs. Walker to a friend saying, quote, "He'll be mad for a second, but I'll cry and he'll shut up." Her lawyer objected. Taken out of context. My lawyer raised an eyebrow. There's more. Then came the screen recordings. Rachel's Instagram posts, saved before she could delete them, captioned spa days, champagne brunches, shopping hauls tagged #treatyourself. Mrs. Walker refers to herself online as being spoiled, living her best life, and blessed to have a man who handles everything. Rachel wouldn't look up. And yet, he continued, her claim is financial abuse. Then he pulled out the big one, the iCloud text thread between her and her sister. The courtroom stayed dead silent as he read out the messages. If I look broke, it helps my support claim. I told my therapist he controls me financially. That should help the narrative. Just need to keep collecting stuff to make it look like a pattern. The judge leaned back in his chair, visibly shifting. His face didn't move much, but his posture said enough. Her lawyer tried to recover. Your Honor, the texts were taken in a private context between siblings. Frustrated words. Not strategy. Then why? My lawyer cut in. Do they align perfectly with her claim and contradict her actual financial behavior? The judge held up a hand. Enough. I've seen what I need to see. Rachel finally looked up. Her face was pale, mouth slightly open, like she couldn't believe this was happening to her. The judge leaned forward. Mrs. Walker, your request for spousal support is based on an image of dependency that does not match the evidence. Not only do your purchases contradict financial hardship, but your own words indicate clear intent to manufacture that hardship. Rachel swallowed hard. Your posts, your messages, your recorded statements all show a pattern of financial freedom, not control. The court finds no evidence of abuse. He paused. Your request for spousal support is denied. She gasped, quiet but sharp, like someone had pulled the air out of her lungs. The judge didn't stop. Furthermore, due to the court's time being used on what amounts to a knowingly false claim, I'm ordering you to pay Mr. Walker's legal fees. Her lawyer whispered something to her. She just shook her head like she was lost. I didn't celebrate, didn't smile, just sat there with my hands folded, watching the woman who tried to ruin me squirm in her seat. She stood to leave, still in character, shoulders hunched, sad little walk, but the act had no weight left. Outside, my lawyer patted my shoulder. Well done. I nodded. We're not done till the papers are signed. No, he said. But today she lost her leverage. And for the first time in months, I felt like I could finally breathe. 3 weeks after the ruling, I saw her in a Ross. I was grabbing socks and a set of towels for the guest bathroom. Real basic stuff. I turned down an aisle, and there she was, bent over a clearance bin, digging through handbags like she was looking for something she'd lost. Her hair was tied up messy, roots showing. No nails, no lashes. Makeup free. Baggy hoodie. Cheap sneakers. She looked like someone else entirely. I almost walked right past her. She looked up and froze. Tyler, she said, straightening up, blinking like she couldn't believe it. I said nothing. just nodded once and kept walking. She followed me halfway down the aisle. Hey, wait, can we talk? I stopped. About what? She looked around like we weren't in a fluorescent-lit discount store and said, I think we rush things. We should have done counseling first. I laughed once under my breath. Counseling? After all that? I didn't mean to hurt you, she said. Things just spiraled. I didn't know how to fix it. You didn't try to fix it. You tried to bury me. That's not fair. No? You faked dependency, lied to your therapist, tried to paint me as an abuser, and when that didn't work, you played the victim again. She didn't argue. She just stared at me, eyes watering up, lip twitching like she was holding back another story. You had your shot, Rachel, I said, and you used it to manipulate the hell out of everyone around you. Her voice cracked. I lost everything. I looked at her then, really looked. The woman who once bragged about bottle service, Louis Vuitton, private facials, now buying purses at Ross and hoping nobody noticed. What happened to all those friends? I asked. The ones who cheered you on, called me controlling. Where are they now? She blinked fast. Didn't answer. Let me guess, I said. They were only around when the brunches were flowing and the drinks were free. Her chin dropped, and I saw her swallow hard. You wanted to play a role. Rich wife. Instagram queen. Victim. Whatever worked. And when it blew up in your face, you thought you could pivot back like nothing happened. I didn't know what else to do, she whispered. Yeah, well, this is what it looks like when the lies run out. She took a step toward me. We could have had a real marriage. I still think about you. I miss us. That actually stung. Not because I missed her, but because us had never really been real to begin with. I gave everything. She weaponized it. No, I said. You miss the lifestyle, the comfort, the safety. You don't miss me. You never did. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You don't have to be cruel. I'm not being cruel, I said. I'm just not carrying your guilt anymore. She stood there, quiet, in that sad little aisle between marked-down handbags and clearance boots. For a second, she looked like she might cry, like she thought one last emotional play would reel me back in. But I was done with the show. I turned and walked away, leaving her there with her silence and her stories. She could keep digging through that clearance bin. Maybe she'd find herself in there. About 3 months after I saw her in Ross, a buddy of mine from high school texted me out of the blue. He said, Dude, is Rachel dating that guy from her job? Chris something? I just replied, wouldn't surprise me. He sent a screenshot. Rachel, standing next to some plain-looking guy outside a Chili's, both of them in scrubs, holding takeout bags. She looked average, normal, like every other nurse heading home after a long shift. No designer bag, no gold watch, no luxury anything. And for the first time, I saw her for what she really was, a regular person who tried to live like a millionaire off someone else's paycheck. And now, she was back where she started, clocking in, splitting dinner bills, probably budgeting for gas. She didn't become frugal because she grew up. She became frugal because she had no choice. And honestly, that realization didn't make me angry. It made me clear. Love isn't manipulation. It's not convincing someone to carry your weight while you perform a victim role in public. Love doesn't twist concern into control or sacrifice into abuse. A real partner works with you, grows with you, doesn't treat loyalty like a weakness or money like a weapon. I think that's what hit me the hardest during it all, not just the money, but how easy it was for her to weaponize care. Every time I asked a question, she turned it into control. Every time I offered support, she twisted it into leverage. But I'm not bitter anymore. I sleep better now. My house is quieter, my bank account's stable, and my mind isn't stuck running circles around someone else's drama. People keep asking me if I'm going to date again. And maybe I will. But right now, I'm just enjoying the silence. No games. No guessing. I look at that screenshot sometimes, not out of regret, but as a reminder of what I avoided, of what I survived. She got the financial independence she claimed to want. And I got peace. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Do you think I handled it the right way? Or is there something I could have done differently? Maybe something I missed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. Because at the end of the day, someone else might be going through the same thing right now, and your words could help them see things more clearly.